All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashai, Bahashem, Harakak. I also want to give double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and honor to all you fellow laborers that are kicking His word in sincerity and in faith. Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashai, Bahashem, Harakak Brakathum, to all you sincere listeners. And death and destruction to you, red Hebrew Edomites. You're the devil according to the Bible. And you can come on the comment board and you can talk about how we have low IQs, we come from monkeys, and we was kangs and all that nonsense. And we're just going to present 144% truth. All right, so I'm going to play this video. I'm going to play some more videos, a few videos documenting the wickedness of you cops, you so-called peace officers. All right, so without further ado.
At our big story, the St. Louis police officer accused of killing fellow officer Caitlin Alex in a game of Russian roulette. That's the allegation. Today we've learned new charges against the officers involved. According to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Officer Nathaniel Hendren, he's now being charged with drinking while on duty. This in addition to the charge of involuntary manslaughter. We've also learned the name of the third officer present that night. Again, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch says that Patrick Reardon, Hendren's partner, has also been charged with drinking on duty. Those charges were reportedly filed on the morning that Alex was killed. News on these charges coming as the top prosecutor in the city made a startling accusation that police have botched the investigation from the beginning. Our big questions out of this: what's gone wrong as police investigate one of their own? And will the family of Caitlin Alex get justice? Our own Elizabeth Pran has been on the story, on the latest developments. So let's talk about the allegation of a botched investigation. What are they saying specifically went wrong here?
Right. And this is brand new information. It's big. This is a big deal, right? These reports coming from the dispatch, the Post-Dispatch, are pretty unsettling, especially when you consider that these accusations come from the circuit attorney, Kimberly Gardner. She says that the St. Louis police have been obstructing the investigation. She says blood evidence was not taken at the hospital. Remember, they were taken to the hospital after the incident occurred. Instead, a urine sample was done and a breathalyzer was completed. But those two methods are not as accurate when it comes to testing for drugs and alcohol. She also believes the department was too quick to label it an accident. And we now hear that these two men, Nathaniel Hendren and Patrick Reardon, have been charged with drinking on the job. This is brand new information. We did not know this before. The STLPD is giving a briefing about the case just about an hour from now. We hope to hear more about what the Post-Dispatch has been able to report. And we also expect them.
And St. Louis, a suburb of St. Louis, is what city? Ferguson. Which, when you think of Ferguson, Missouri, you should think of Mike Brown. And these are the cops. These are the cops in the area. This is what they're doing. You turning up on the job, playing Russian roulette on the job, on the clock. And you can't say, oh, this is just an isolated incident. This happens every day in America, and I got more documentation. So don't come to the Hebrew Israelites, who are different shades of brown, and we have Israelites, Hebrew Israelites that look like all nations. Okay, so don't come to us talking about terrorism and hate. Look what this guy's doing, man. And look at, he's a complete liar.
To answer claims of the prosecutor. For now, his part, Henderson's attorney, is pushing back on Gardner's claims. He said, quote, "It is clear that Circuit Attorney Gardner cannot be impartial, unbiased, or objective in continuing to prosecute these charges, and that the entire investigation is unsalvageable." So it's been a really busy day in the case. Earlier today, Hendren was asking a judge to lower his bond, but instead it was doubled. It went from $50,000 to $100,000. Should he be able to make bond? Our affiliate, KMOV, reports Hendren will be put on house arrest and he will not be allowed to access any firearms. So these are all really big developments, things that we didn't even know this morning.
You know, obviously, I'm sure if you were to see this picture and go, what's with the black eye, from Hendren himself? So with that said, Are we getting any more clarity about what happened? Because we know the story. You and I talked about it, how this game of alleged Russian roulette, they've got a revolver, all bullets are emptied, one put back in the chamber. I think Hendren fires first into the air. She points it at him. The gun doesn't go off, and then he points it at her, and that's the last fatal shot.
You have to think in the press conference that people are going to ask why the black eye right away, right? Because right off the bat, he's claiming that this was an accident, right? So I want to set the scene for you because you just went over it a little bit. Officer Hendren and his partner, they're on duty, right?
Key point.
But they're at his house, which is about 2 miles outside the area that they're working to patrol. This is, of course, according to the charging documents.
Unbelievable.
Then 24-year-old Caitlin Alex shows up. And this is, like you said, when they started to play this game, allegedly of Russian roulette, when you empty a revolver, you put one bullet back, you spin the barrel, and then you start shooting at each other, right? That's what you're supposed to do when you play this game. According to prosecutors, it was Hendren who took out the revolver. He started the game. They passed the gun back and forth. But then on the third pull, that is when Alex was shot right point blank in her chest, and they take her to the area hospital where she did die. He's charged with involuntary manslaughter in the first degree and armed criminal action relating to the death of a fellow officer. And now these new charges of drinking on the job. His partner, Patrick Reardon, is also facing charges of drinking on duty. He denies the charges through an attorney. So they, like I said, it seems every hour we get these little bits of information. And as soon as that press conference comes out about an hour from now, I'm curious about that black eye because there's rumors, but there's nothing that we can confirm.
Got it. Well done.
Thanks.
Again, there's a lot going on here. Okay, Elizabeth Pran on the story for us. So let's get Joey Jackson's take, HLN legal analyst, great criminal defense attorney. First, your take to the new charges here, drinking on the job, and how does that impact the investigation?
Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. I think from the outset,
Woo!
Mike, there was something rotten about it. That's why the attorney involved, the county attorney, is saying, wait a second, you classify this as an accident. We don't even know what occurred. You heard the chief or the superintendent of the police come out and say, oh, it's accidental. Then they backtrack from it. Here are my thoughts. Number one, police should not be investigating police. That's just basic and standard. That should be the protocol. Why? Because there's an inherent conflict of interest. I work with you. I know you. Am I going to be objective about how I evaluate it? Number two, I don't think a local district attorney should be investigating either. That is inherently conflicting because you work with the police all the time to build cases. There has to be some independent outside party who looks at this, examines this, and that'll give it public confidence. And ultimately, we will be able to rely upon the charges. Final thing, and that is in terms of the alcohol, it messes it. It messes it because now we know that there's a backstory, not the least of which, as you spoke with Elizabeth about a minute ago, the black eye. Where does that come from? When you're playing Russian roulette, you're not fighting each other. This is not a UFC match. You're putting a bullet in the cylinder of that gun and spinning it around. So how did that happen? And I would suspect, based upon the alleged cover-up, that there could be even more charges to come predicated upon the officers who initially arrived and what their narrative was as to what occurred.
Yeah, because you're finding out that this charge of drinking on the job, that happened as the tragedy is unfolding.
Yeah, that
right.
Completely problematic. And again, to Elizabeth's point, as she's investigating this and looking at it, doing some great reporting, it's changing by the minute, right? And so we don't know ultimately who was drinking. Well, they do claim to know who was drinking. Who else, I should say, may be drinking, if anyone? How that factored into the equation? What specifically were they doing? Was this a fight? Was it really Russian roulette? Was it something that went bad? Why were they taking that frolic and detour off of their actual route that they should have been patrolling and supervising? So a lot is developing and unfolding. I suspect we'll learn a lot at the 2 p.m. press conference. But if I had my druthers and I had to guess, I think there will be additional charges here that would be forthcoming, not only as to the officer who shot and fired, but as to any other officer who was there who might have seen something and having a duty and obligation to report, didn't report, but just went with the narrative of, shh, it's an accident, it's all going to be okay. Not okay, as we're going to see.
Yeah, transparency in the investigation key for sure. All right, Joey, thanks.
Esau, you getting exposed left and right, man. And you're the real terrorist, okay? Terrorism, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. And I'm gonna get some videos documenting your terrorism, because that what I just played right now, that was some so-called friendly fire. That's what the so-called white man calls it. Friendly fire. Well, pretty much what it was on some gang shit. Old girl got violated. All right, because the cops, they're nothing but a gang who have all types of backing, and they support the state. They're state-sponsored terrorists. That's what police are. And instead of them doing their job, what were they doing in the house, turning up? It looked like they probably had an argument. All right, she might have fired on him, or somebody else fired. Who knows, man? The Lord will reveal it. Maybe because all things are being revealed at this time. Matter of fact, let me get this in Luke the 8th chapter. And reveal how much of scumbags you cops are, man. Luke 8:17, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, and is being made perfectly clear that you police officers are scumbags as a whole. Now, if you're in that line of work and you repent, I can't say nothing about you. Yeah, as a whole, man, you police, the overwhelming majority of you police officers are complete lowlifes and scumbags, man. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. Yeah, neither anything hid that shall not be known. And it's being known that you so-called white people, you ain't right. So your taxpayer money was going towards them having a private party, man, turning up, supposedly playing Russian roulette, which that's reckless as hell. But these are the people who patrol the streets. He's saying that they playing Russian roulette. That's some super reckless stuff. And that's why the cops, man, they hop out like this.
Police have opened an investigation into the actions of one of its officers.
KPIX5's Da Lin is live in Vallejo with the video. Da?
Yeah, the Vallejo man says he never interfered with the police officer, and he says he was never a threat to the police officer, but yet he doesn't understand why he was detained. He says at one point he feared for his life.
Look at
Vallejo
this.
man says this officer roughed him up on his front porch.
No, shit back. Nope. Keep your hands where you can see him. Keep your hands right up.
Esau's demonic ass.
You're interfering with me, my man. If you're interfering, so you're going to go in the back of the car. That's fine. Okay. You. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting you. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting. Put me on the ground. If you keep fighting me, I will. I'm not fighting you. I get handcuffed.
See, see, man, you so-called white people, man, you cops, y'all are some cowards, man. And the only reason you become a cop is because you couldn't go toe-to-toe with us in the streets how you really want to. So you just put on that badge, and now you have some power to go and harass the so-called black man. And that's what you get off on, man. I'm gonna play this again. Because he hopped out on dude on the bike with the heat. He wasn't even looking at him, man, just ready to kill, man, because that's the spirit of the so-called white man. He's Cain. Okay, he's a destroying weapon.
Vallejo man
he got the pistol. What do you got the pistol for?
No, shit back. Nope. Keep your hands where you can see him.
Look, he on his property, filming. Far away, man. There ain't no law that say you can't film. But guess what? The so-called white man, he'll come up with a law. Why? Let me get this in Isaiah, the 10th chapter. This one in particular just rubbed me the wrong way, man. He was a complete demon, man. Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Yeah, and the so-called white man is all about declaring unrighteous decrees. And all these laws are set up to imprison so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All of them. As soon as Jake gets into something, or Esau starts getting exposed, guess what? It's now illegal to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people. Yeah, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. Yeah, that's right, because they implement these laws so then they can do what? Lock up the man. And now the child is left out there unprotected, and then you want to lock up the child, man. Damn devils. And what will you do in the day of visitation and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will ye flee for help And where will you leave your glory? That's right, man. And that's the time that we're in, where the Lord is judging you. The day of visitation. All right, so let me go back to this. Hopped out with the heat. Look how he's walking over.
You're interfering with me, my man. You're interfering, so you're going to go punch in the back of the car. That's fine. Okay. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting you. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting. Put me on the ground. If you keep fighting me, I will. I'm not fighting you. I get handcuffed, put into this wall. I get swung into this pole.
Adrian Burrell says the impact to his head caused a concussion.
And he put the cuffs so tight on my hands so that they broke the skin and my fingers went numb. If you keep fighting me, I will. I'm not fighting you.
It happened last Tuesday. Adrian says he walked out of his house and saw Officer David McLaughlin pointing a gun at his cousin in the driveway. He later found out the officer stopped his cousin for a possible traffic violation.
My cousin had.
Yeah, so look, a traffic violation warrants all that. He hopped out. He hopped out with the pistol. See, Esau's the real thug. He's the real gangbanger. He ain't even doing nothing, man. He got his hands up. You ain't pulling him over on suspicion of a murder or assault or nothing like that. It's on some traffic stuff. But it's because he's the damn devil, man. He wants to murder us.
Helmet on. I told him, I'm like, hey, he can't hear you. He can't hear you. Chill out, because the gun is out.
He says the officer asked him to get back. He says he was about 15 to 20 feet away and on his own property. He refused and took out his phone to record.
I fear for my life because this is a police officer I've already seen pointing a gun at somebody who's complying with him.
Adrian says the officer detained him for about 45 minutes and later released him after learning he's a Marine veteran.
We've already made contact with one of the involved parties in the video.
The police have launched an internal affairs investigation. They declined to comment on the video.
We need to gather all the facts and all the information. That's one video. The officer also has body cam video that we're going to be reviewing.
Officer McLaughlin continues to work during this investigation. A few years ago, a man sued him and accused him of violating his civil rights. Now, that case was dismissed after that man died. Now, Adrian has retained civil rights attorney John Burst. They plan to sue the officer. As for the cousin, that cousin was not arrested. He did, I was told, received a traffic citation.
Yeah, of course. What you gonna arrest him for? He wasn't doing nothing, man. And who knows, man, that cop probably smoked him. He probably smoked the Jake who was going to sue him. Probably got rid of him and then blamed it on some Jake. So that's what you so-called white people do, man. You're nothing but the devil, man. Nothing but, man.
He got a gun. Wait. Let me see your hand. Get up right now. Let me see it. Get up.
They just.
Stop it right now. Let me see it. Where's the gun? Where's the gun? No gun. What you just come at us with, man? Bro, no gun. No gun, officer. This guy was pointing on me. No, I would have pointed aside. I thought, dude, it's the phone. Don't worry about it.
Is he shot?
Yeah, no. I'm hit. Yeah, I think I did what y'all supposed to, officer. Why the fuck?
Where's the gun?
Where's the gun? I ain't see y'all, bro.
Where's the gun?
They just jumped my sister.
Where's the gun?
No gun. What the f did you have in your hand? Why would you come at us with that thing in your hand?
Look at him, man.
Relax, bro. I got y'all. Relax.
See, look, he the victim. He just got shot, and he's more calm than them. You so-called white people, you're a bunch of just demons, man. Bunch of animals. He had to calm the situation after he got shot. Something else. And then they said, what? Where's the gun? Where's the gun? And best believe, if it wasn't for that body cam and people filming, see, that's why they got mad at that Jake for filming, because you so-called white people are being exposed. Everybody knows your tactics. You shoot first, and then what are you going to do? You're going to stick a gun on a Jake to make it justifiable. But now, because everybody got them body cams, you're more and more under the scope. They have to release that footage. You see? So they're like, well, look, where's the gun? Where's the gun? So that way they could be justified. Matter of fact, it's Psalms 94 and 20. Of the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law. Yeah, and that's what the so-called white man does. Frames mischief by a law. Because he knows that, okay, he'll be justified in his law. Okay, well, look, this is self-defense. You know, hey, being a cop, it's a hard job. It's because you make it a hard job because you out there gangbanging on everybody. And so you create enemies. And you create mischief and you frame mischief by the law, man. Because everything that this man does, he'll go back to his law and say, well, look, this is justifiable. This is a justifiable thing. But guess what? When we read Isaiah the 10th chapter, the laws is wicked in the first place. You got the Second Amendment, yet you so scared of everybody having a gun. Because really, you never intended the Second Amendment to be extended to Jake and the rest of the tribes. It's just for the so-called white man. All right, but now that Jake is trying to exercise it, well, that's what do you do? What do you do? Oh, you're a felon. You can't have a gun. You do this, you can't have a gun. And Jake want to protect himself and have a gun. And what do you do? You'll give him all types of years for not having it registered. But wait a second, it's under the Second Amendment. Shouldn't I just be able to go in and have a gun? It's all about you being defenseless. That's what the so-called white man wants. You to be defenseless. And if you don't have the spirit of YAHAWASHI on you, guess what? You are defenseless. Okay? Because that gun, that's not no ironclad defense or resistance. The only ironclad resistance is the spirit of YAHAWASHI. And you see what happens, man. If the Lord is not with you, more sick shit.
Priceless. Take a close look at this video temporarily posted to the social media site Snapchat following a Detroit police traffic stop near Joy Road and Stout Tuesday night. Walk of shame in the cold. Listen closely as the officer makes condescending remarks towards an African-American girl he's instructed to walk home in the cold. We've confirmed she was pulled over for having expired license tabs. Bye, Felicia. We showed this video to Arielle Moore, the young woman who was videotaped on a cell phone, and her mother, Monique Mobley. They're now sharing their outrage over his words and captions that read, quote, what black girl magic looks like and celebrating Black History Month.
I've never had this happen to me in my life, so I'm kind of shocked.
Also disturbing, Officer Steele's prior trouble with the law. Prosecutors charged him with physically attacking his ex-girlfriend and firing a gun next to her head back in 2008. Ended with Steele taking a misdemeanor plea deal for probation and staying on the force. Priceless.
You see, this is the so-called white man. He's a thug.
Posted to the social media.
He's nothing but a thug. He's nothing but a thug, man. Nothing but a thug, and he's he likes to make mockery out of our people. So look, if Jake did that, if Jake shot a gun by his girlfriend's head, you think he gonna stay on the force? You think he would even get to join the force after that? But that just goes to show what the so-called white man gets away with in this society. But it's okay because he's falling out of rulership. Then you got this damn Moabite. These cops are off the hook.
What's your badge number? Give us your badge number. What's your badge number? That's why you said it. But if you want to go, at least you will say that. Don't you worry about it. What's your badge number? Don't worry. What's your number?
See?
What's your badge number? Give us your badge number. What's your badge number? That's why you said it. But if you want to go, at least you will say that. Don't you worry about it. What's your badge number? Don't worry.
See, these cops, they off the hook, man. These cops are off of the hook. Well, let's not forget about your girl right here. Where's she at?
The tragic story of a Dallas police officer who claimed she mistakenly entered the wrong apartment and then shot and killed a black man inside the apartment, the resident. Amber Geiger, who is white, claims she thought Botham Sheem John had broken into her home last Thursday night when she entered his apartment and killed the innocent man. But now the attorney for the victim says two witnesses are contradicting the officer's version of events. CNN's Ryan Young reports from Dallas.
That's the spirit too.
We have a hard problem with getting justice in these streets. But damn, can we get justice in our living room?
Demands for answers in Dallas are growing louder as contradicting stories emerge over the death of 26-year-old Botham John. A witness who captured this video says it shows off-duty policewoman Amber Geiger distraught and pacing on the balcony of her Dallas apartment complex Thursday night, still in uniform after finishing her shift. Geiger had opened fire around 10 p.m., killing John after saying she mistook his fourth-floor apartment for her own third-floor residence. According to the affidavit, the room was nearly completely dark. Believing she had encountered a burglar across the room in her apartment, Geiger drew her firearm and gave verbal commands that were ignored.
We hope to bring understanding and clarity to the family.
But John's family attorney says witnesses add more to the story.
They both heard a knock or a pounding on the door. The one who was closer to the scene in her bedroom reading a book, she heard pounding followed by a female's voice saying, "Open up, let me in." She said that was shortly followed by the sound of gunshots and the sound of a man's voice saying what she believed to be, "Oh my God, why did you do that?"
Geiger was arrested Sunday evening and was charged with manslaughter. She posted bail and was released
That's
just
murder.
hours later. Now prosecutors say more serious charges won't be ruled out.
The grand jury will be that entity that will make the final decision in terms of the charges.
Geiger has been placed on administrative leave as her case is investigated. But protesters aren't waiting. Crowds took to the streets outside the Dallas Police Department Monday.
They don't come to us and ask us. You're right. About what happened.
And continued marching into the night. John's red doormat is adorned with flowers and his mother is still begging for truth.
The number one answer that I want is what happened. I have asked too many questions and I've been told that there are no answers yet.
We've reached out to Geiger's attorney, but they have not reached back out to us. Something else to keep in mind here, Jake. Last night during the protest, there were two groups that were marching. And at some point, it seems that someone started firing some pepper ball spray toward them. They're trying to figure out exactly right now who did that. In fact, the police chief says they're going to investigate it.
They're investigating all that. But yeah, but see, that's why you cops are starting to get killed now. A whole lot of police officers are getting knocked down because this is the behavior that you participate in. This thug, gangbanging, condescending, drug dealing, terrorism. All right, terrorism. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation. Yeah, and that's what the cops do, man. It's even against their law. A cop will roll up on you and arrest you. He'll break a law and get into you, man. He'll break the law and then come and arrest you for something. Oh, he's turning up on a job. He's turning up on a job, playing Russian roulette, and then it's going to arrest you right after. All right, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation. And that's why Esau hop out on Jake the way he do, because he's trying to intimidate Jake. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians. Yeah. A regular, degular Jake, an American citizen, just riding his bike, just existing in his house in the pursuit of political aims. Yeah, that's right. And what's that political aim? To keep you in substandard conditions, to keep you as a second-class citizen. That's the political aim, to make it so that you don't rise up, so that you're not in the same playing field as a so-called white man. All right, because he's scared of what? The Jake over. But guess what? The Jake over is occurring anyways, man. You did all these acts of terrorism, and Jake is still going strong, man. And now what's happening? You're getting recompense. You cops in particular, you're being recompensed for all the wickedness that you've been doing. You're getting exposed, you're getting shot and killed. And guess what? It ain't even so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans for the most part. It's mostly other so-called white people, Colossians 3:25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done. And there is no respect of persons. That's right. He that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there is no respect of persons. See, in this society, there's respect of persons. Because you have something called what? Blue. Blue wall of silence. Right, the blue wall of silence, also blue code and blue shield are terms used in the U.S. to denote the informal rule that purportedly exists among police officers not to report on a colleague's errors, misconducts, or crimes, including police brutality. That's right, man. Police brutality. Crimes against humanity. That's what you so-called white people participate in. Crimes against humanity. Crimes against the Israelites. But you know what? You don't be snitching. But you, hey, see, you're nothing but gang members. That's the same code that our people have. You see? You got the same thing. The only difference is your terrorism, your gang activity is sponsored by the U.S. government and by the Rothschilds. That's the only difference. But you know what? Colossians 3:25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done. And there is no respect of persons. That's right. There's no respect of persons in the eyes of the Most High. You're doing wickedness, guess what? You're going to be judged. All right, I'm gonna get these scriptures on the comment board. Shalom to all you brothers. Book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. This is from the brother Judah Akia. He shall speak great words against the Most High and shall wear out the saints of the Most High and think to change times and laws. Yeah, that's a so-called white man. Okay? Because this is talking about America in particular. And he shall speak great words against the Most High and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Yeah, and that's what the so-called white man is attempting to do. He's trying to wear us out, but guess what? We're renewed day by day. And think to change times and laws. That's right. The so-called white man, he has access, readily access to these scriptures, and he knows the over 613 laws, but he changes the laws. And then he don't even follow them laws, man. He expects you to follow them, but he don't follow none of them. And they shall be given into his hand into a time and times and the dividing of time. That's right. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it unto the end. That's right. Because this place is being set up to be destroyed. That's the end of America. That's the but though. But the judgment shall sit. That's right. Judgment is going to come upon you damn devils, man. Yeah, like the brother said, these devils are going down. All right, Isaiah. This book of Isaiah 59. Verse 8, the way of peace they know not, and there is no judgment in their goings. That's right. Now, this is really talking about Israel, yet pertaining to Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, you can apply this to Esau. They have made them crooked paths. Whosoever goeth therein shall not know peace. That's right, man. There's no peace in you following after the so-called white man. Yep, verse 14. And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. That's right. Equity cannot enter. It's impossible. It is impossible for there to be equity in America. And you see it, man. And our people are waking up to that fact more and more each day. And that's the brother GMS YAHAWAH Yakazakala. It's Jeremiah 5:6. Wherefore a lion out of the beast shall slay them, and a wolf of the evening shall spoil them. Whoa, yeah. And that's what's happening to Jake. and a wolf of the evening shall spoil them. A leopard shall watch over their cities. Everyone that goeth out then shall be torn in pieces, because their transgressions are many and their backslidings are increased. Yeah, because ultimately, these police officers who kill our people, that's judgment from the Most High. All right, because the so-called white man, you get that in Psalms 17th chapter. Psalms 17 and 13. Arise, O Yahawah, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. That's right. So that's why you pray that the Lord will disappoint him. From what? Continuing his wicked crime spree. They got a phrase, a continued crime enterprise. That's the so-called white man. And these cops, they're appointed a part of it. So you ask the Heavenly Father to disappoint him and cast him down. Yeah, take him out of power. Because this man is on a damn killing spree, a murder spree. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Yeah, and that's the sword of the Heavenly Father. He's used to execute judgment. Yep, and that was it. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up. I pray it was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, the Wadi Yahawashi, Yahawashi, for bestowing upon me the Holy Spirit to do this lesson. Shalom to the elect. Oh boy.